The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Decision making is clocking head, getting the ball out quicker, not holding on to it as long. Accuracy, virtually across the board. And really, all those game reps he had last year paying dividends now. There's really no substitute for game reps. That's the big thing that we have going for him in that battle against Bert Fickle, because he's had reps at this level and Bert not.
That's Coach Witt talking about Isaac Wilson.
Mid-drum circle. You caught up with Witt at the Liberty Park drum circle. Just banging away on some drums.
Once again, Isaac Wilson gets dragged. He's the only guy on the team that they're going to identify as second string.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody else is first string in our book. Except for you, Isaac.
Not you, pal.
Not you, pal. You're number 2. And I'm going to go tell everybody. I'm kidding, of course. But Witt is not going to release depth charts any longer. But Isaac Wilson, he did confirm as the backup quarterback. And those were the reasons why. So the Bear getting the nod at BYU is the big story. But other quarterback news, Isaac Wilson is the backup at Utah.
A lot of guys play. So the depth chart thing is, you do have your starters and you have your stars. And I guess if there's one spot where I'd be curious who gets the most reps, which we will know pretty quickly, will be the running back position for Utah. But, yeah, we'll see. Utah, with all due respect, and this is the case for every quarterback room in the country, hopes they never have to see their backup quarterback. Unless you're a true specialist in some situations, like Tyler Huntley as a freshman or Tim Tebow at the goal line as a young player, you don't really want to see your backup quarterbacks.
No. I still think this new offense and its fit at Utah is even the story when it comes to this. Is Isaac Wilson, we can talk about the game experience that we saw last year, which is something. I believe what he's saying right there, but he wasn't running a spread option offense. This is going to be something that's entirely different. Is Isaac Wilson a good fit? Is he a better fit maybe? I don't know. But if Utah does have to go to their backup quarterback, if Dampier for some reason has to miss time, heaven forbid, I don't know if last year's experience is going to help or hurt Isaac Wilson, honestly, because he's running a totally different scheme. Yeah. It's going to ask something entirely different out of him. And again, like I said, maybe it's a better fit for him. I don't know. It's not as much of a complicated throwing offense. That's true. It's a lot of timing stuff. I don't know. Is he an RPO guy?
It is interesting. Witt was talking about the clock in his head, which makes me think it's no. Obviously RPO is very much clock driven, right? It's quick decisions and it's recognizing what the defense is doing. And are you talking about the clock of how quickly the pocket's collapsing and how quickly you have to get the ball out? Or are you talking about those RPO decisions and how quick those have to be? I don't think it's RPO decisions. I could be wrong. But again, it is interesting in general to commit to this bit that Utah is committing to, which is, I don't want to say a gimmick, but an offense that requires very specific types of players, especially a quarterback. Because if the backup is not that type of quarterback, everything changes immediately if they step on the field. And unfortunately, based on the style your starting quarterback plays, the odds of him making it through 12 games is difficult. It's difficult for any quarterback to make it through because they're the number one target. And if they're going to be out there running around, it's really going to be difficult to stay healthy. So, yeah, that'll be a big question for Utah.
So, if Dampier proves to be a big a part of the offense as he was in New Mexico, then if he were not to play, it would be devastating. And Isaac Wilson could be back in the spot he was last year, running a different kind of offense. So I wonder do you think it's that way? Really, BYU and Utah are in the same boat potentially, right? Your starter isn't available for whatever reason, and the season's just over. Is it that way everywhere in college football now? Because if you're any good as a backup, you're transferring to play somewhere else?
There's probably not a lot of, good backup might be an oxymoron.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is this true for every program? What happened to Utah last year? Is that true for every decent school? I don't know. I don't follow it close enough. Is it a death sentence?
Arch Manning played well.
If your quarterback
Arch Manning was good.
Gets hurt? Arch Manning is the exception, not the rule, because he's the only one who's signing up to play 4 years of university anymore, according to him, and who's perfectly willing to just stay at the same place and sit for 2 years. I think that's the exception. I don't think that's the rule.
Yeah, and it's not. They're not the one exception. There's talented quarterbacks that aren't winning jobs, based on
But then they
other
leave.
good quarterbacks. But yeah, they leave generally. So you only know that for a year. I don't think you know that for 2 seasons. Yeah, you know it for a year. Oh, the backup's good. He's too good to be not playing.
Like Bryson Barnes, who would have won more games for Utah last year than Isaac Wilson did, transferred.
He left. Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to sit and back up Cam Rising. I'm out of here. I'm going to go somewhere where I can play. So, thus, Utah's season was ruined because they had to go to the Frosh when that wasn't a very good option because their backup quarterback bounced. So, I wonder how true that is across the board. Like, why am I going blank now? Who's our guy in Kansas? Or Kansas State, for that matter.
Avery
Johnson at Kansas State. I mean, if he goes down, is it over for Kansas State?
Probably.
Is the season just? I mean, we might as well not show up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not show up is a little dramatic, but yeah.
I mean, I would argue that Utah did not show up against Houston.
Sure. I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't.
Jalen Daniels, thank you, Christian. Sorry, brain fart.
He's never healthy.
And if he is, then Kansas actually should be pretty good.
Yeah.
But if he gets hurt, is it over?
Unfortunately, yes.
I wonder if that's true at Ohio State.
Well, they just named a freshman, right? A transfer from, where was he? LSU, Texas? I can't remember where he's transferring over from.
But, I mean, even in Ohio State's case, Joe Burrow got beat out and transferred.
Right.
So whoever was just beat out by that freshman is transferring probably as soon as they can.
I mean, Bear Bachmeier transferred to BYU. A, they lost their coach, and B, the Oregon State transfer moved over.
But if that player from Ohio State, whatever, transfers now, they don't have to burn a year of eligibility.
Right.
I mean, even in that case, why would you stick around and burn a year of eligibility being the replacement? I guess you would hope you Wally Pipp the guy, but that isn't the right mentality to go into a season with, where you're rooting for the other guy to get hurt.
It's not what you're being set up for. No,
So-
and, we talked about where did Brandon Rose land?
Oh, UMass.
UMass, right? Like, that's the question. Is Isaac Wilson probably could have gone to Utah State? I would think. Maybe not.
I can't believe he came back to Utah.
But yeah,
honestly.
the fact that he came back to Utah might tell you that there weren't a lot of other great offers there for him, but that's because he wasn't great last year.
Well, and honestly, good for him and good for Utah. Like, I don't mean
Absolutely.
to come off too negative. I'm just surprised he went through all that last year and was willing to come back.
It has a chance to be a great story, but you don't usually bet on guys who don't play particularly well coming back and improving dramatically. Now, it does happen. Guys get better in their sophomore seasons, or their second seasons. Maybe sophomore is a bad word to use, but their second seasons. And Jake Retzlaff's a great example of that. Sam Levitt was okay at Michigan State his first year, didn't play a whole lot, but did do exactly what you're talking about, right? If he didn't think he was going to be the starter, you leave. And you go somewhere where you can start, even if it's a place that's a total wild card in Arizona State that was expected to be the worst team. But you start, and if you play well, which he did, Sam Levitt might be the best returning quarterback or one of them in the conference this year, and Arizona State's primed to have another big season.
Is that a reason that BYU might have picked the Bear? You don't want him to bounce?
Bare necessities.
He loses out on the job, and he's like, I'm not sticking around to be a backup. I'm going to transfer again. I don't know.
I don't think he would transfer twice in 3 months.
We've seen it before.
We have. I think that is a real way to find instability and never really become a person.
Who was that bozo Utah had for a hot second that transferred 3 times in a calendar year because he left from Utah mid-season? Bentley, was that the one who did that?
Yeah, Jake Bentley.
So, I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this before. And by the way, I have no idea. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, is that a reason to pick the freshman because you want to keep him on your roster?
No, I don't think so.
And you don't think Hillstead will leave, so pick the Frosh?
No, because I thought about the same thing with Utah, which is, Isaac beats out Ficklin, right? Ficklin, excuse me, is the backup there, and now he's third, and that's, I guess, the guy you would have hoped would have come in and gotten the backup job. But now you got to worry about him transferring, right? And he already transferred him.
Why would you want Ficklin to get it? Isaac Wilson was Ficklin.
Right.
The hot young freshman.
Yeah, he was.
He was that guy. Like, it's so funny how people are so willing to move off of players and their potential. Is Isaac Wilson's potential any different than it was before last year? I would argue no, because it was such a bad situation, which is exactly what BYU's marching into this year. The Bear, the hot freshman.
Yeah.
What happens when he struggles? Mm-hmm. I mean, is Ben Anderson next year going to be talking about the Bear transferring to Utah State?
Maybe. It's possible. I think whoever... I think you do carve this out with the hope that they play 2 years and then Ryder Lyons steps in and is ready to go. But if Bear is not very good his first year, BYU will replace him.
That's unfair. That's why you don't want to play a freshman. That's the whole reason you don't want to make this decision. Isaac Wilson, let it be a lesson to you. Everybody now thinks he's throwing it backwards out there. I would argue he still has a ton of potential. He was put in a terrible situation, but people are all just closing the book on the dude. And that's the danger you run with the Bear down at BYU. If he doesn't come out of the gate like Johnny Football, well, all of a sudden are you moving off him after a year, 2 years? I would argue moving off him after 2 years is unfair.
I would think he's slightly less likely to transfer because he starts this year, but certainly not like it would have been 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when you could still get dinged for transferring and you'd have to sit out a year, and guys didn't want to do that. I just don't think it actually weighs that heavily in what your decision this year can't be dependent on what you think you're going to do next year anymore in college football, which I don't envy for coaches.
Zach Wilson beat USC in his first year starting and then played pretty well for the rest of the year, capped off with a great bowl performance. I was talking to people at the time who were like, I don't think this guy's got it. I think BYU should move off him. And it's like, what are you talking about? The guy just had his first experience. He showed promise. Then all of a sudden he's the number 2 pick in the draft. And I mean, no matter what you think of his career with the Jets, he could sling the football and did so at BYU. So what happens, like, why do people want to automatically cast judgments on young quarterbacks who first get their first opportunity? I brought this up earlier. John Beck sucked his first opportunities at BYU. It's not fair. It's not fair that we're talking about Isaac Wilson and saying, like, oh, I can't believe he didn't transfer to SUU.
Yeah.
The college version of Christian should be interviewing him right now.
Yeah.
That's not fair. He could still be an NFL guy. I mean, if he were, I would probably not have picked Utah on the spread option attack.
Sure.
But, whatever. I'm not going to close the book on the guy. It's not fair. I don't think it's honestly fair to Bachmeier because he's not going to play well. Certainly not at the beginning. And people are going to pile on, and then there's going to be people who be like, close the book on the Bear. And it's like, dude, what if we just made you, like, the salesperson, what if we just made you CEO of the company and said, all right, do it? Maybe you'd be good at it eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe after a year or two, you'd probably figure it out. Probably suck at it right away.
Yeah. It's not enviable. And, we're seeing it in the NFL right now. I mean, just it's how critical that position is. And it's goofy. It's weighted so heavily in that position. It's unfortunate if you're good at everything else.
I think the NFL closes the book on guys too early.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
You're a huge Anthony Richardson guy, and they're closing the book on him for Daniel Jones.
Well.
But that's the problem. You have a guy, and you're relevant, and you don't, and it's a mess forever.
Well, the Jets have obviously closed the book on guys too soon. Not that Sam Darnold is the greatest quarterback in the NFL, but he's better than the Jets have had since.
Probably better than what they have now.
Is definitely better than what they have now.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Zach Wilson. I think Geno Smith could play well for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll might have been a savvy, really good hire for Vegas, by the way. I don't know if it's going to work, but he's kind of what they need.
Yeah.
Kind of a strong man, kind of
stabilizer.
We're going to play defense and run.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We'll have more coming up next. We're going to do this silly thing.
Big 12 Power Poll. What's silly about it? We
Nobody's
got a game
played.
on Saturday. It's the preseason Power Poll.
We're going to do that next.
If you want to wait to do it until we have the final standings of the season and tell everyone who's listening who's good based on what they just watched over the last 14 weeks, we can do that.
801-575-ZONE, caller number 12 right now. We're hooking you up with a family 4-pack of tickets to go see the Bees at an upcoming game at their brand new stadium in Daybreak. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Zone. More Jake and Ben next. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.